Hello and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me, my host companion, C. John Sarowick.
I'm here too. Oh, yeah, me. No, that's me.
That's you. You're C. John Sarowick. That's still your name, right? I don't know. Did you change your name for the Christmas season?
Yeah, just for the Christmas season. I am Siege Claus.
I thought you were going to be C. John Sarowick the Halls.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see where you went there. Really, in my heart, I just want to be a dentist, though. So.
Oh, everybody wants to be a dentist. You know, I had a conversation with Santa Claus once. This is our first official Christmas part, right? A little early, but
Thanksgiving.
I often, you know what, Sejan? I love that, we actually have a plan for tonight, completely derailed by you asking, saying that you want to be a dentist. And that is because when we were both in university, I commuted. Sejan lived on campus, but I commuted. And it was like a good 40-minute ride, and I would be alone in the car. So one day I'm driving down there. It is winter time. Christmas is all around us. I feel it in the air. Thank you.
Leafers everywhere.
Leafers everywhere. And to pass the time as I was driving, I imagined that Santa Claus landed in my car because he's a little tired, checking in on everybody. I just need a break, Dev. I'm like, okay, Santa. So then I proceed to have both sides of a conversation with Santa Claus. But you know how, I don't know what it's called. They usually meet on Thursdays, and it's more of a Baptist sort of thing where the Holy Spirit takes you. Do you know what those are called? Those events are called?
Those events are called tent meetings?
They actually have a name for it. I attended one once. And then I met a prophet who told me Christian is written on my head in blazing yellow letters.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
he could not read well at all, could he?
And then I went and saw X-Men: The Last Stand. So it was truly a religious experience. I hate myself right now. Where did that come from? So, but I truly believe that Santa Claus was not a character that I was creating, but that the spirit of Christmas had overtaken my body and was using me as a vessel for communication. So as I'm driving to URI, I imagine I'm having this. I have this conversation with Santa Claus, and it's about the Christmas season and what it means to still believe in Santa Claus, even though I'm older than 18, and it's great. And then I break, right, and I say to Santa, so Santa, I have a question for you, right? You know the elves in the North Pole. Is there one elf prime, and then you cloned all the other elves, a la Star Wars?
Oh no, Darth Claus.
And Santa Claus looked at me dead in the eye, and he goes, "Yeah, next time you're up at the North Pole, I'll introduce you to Herbie Fett." And then he touched his nose and flew out my exhaust pipe.
Oh my God, Devon Decker, the wassailing vessel. That's what I'm just saying.
Dude, I don't think I've ever told anyone that story. Totally not. I have a notebook in front of me, and it has bullet points. And I was very excited to we're gonna have a real professional show tonight. But then Sejan, that's Sejan. He had to say, "I want to be a dentist."
Oh, you can't be a dentist. Watch out for Bumbles, because Bumbles bounce.
You can't, Cordelia.
Christmas episodes. Oh, this is putting me in such a good mood.
Good, I'm happy. I'm very happy. And you should be in a good mood because for the first time in what may be forever, we made good on a promise, and Sejan went to go see Justice League between episodes.
That's right. And let it be heard and remembered by all that Sejan was the one that kept the promise.
Sejan is usually one who doesn't keep promises, so I'm not sure what you're trying to do here.
I'm just saying, I did it. I went and I saw Justice League. I don't. How do we? Where do we go?
Well, let's just. We're gonna just catch everybody up in case you missed last week. In case you missed last week's episode of the Say Report, I, Devon Decker, had decreed to Will, the guy who does our outro, and he was going to be our impartial judge on this discussion that you're about to hear right now.
Till he got drunk and fell asleep.
Yep, back spasms and Jose Cuervo. That's where Will is. But I had decreed to Will that he would enjoy Justice League, and if he didn't, I would pay for his movie ticket. And let it be said, that was stupid on my part because I forgot about conversion rates. So, like, if he didn't like Justice League, I had a lot of shit in the game. But then, I doubled down on that. And when Sejin's like, I don't want to see Justice League, I finally hit my limit. I hit my wall. That's not my Sejin. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I don't know how I should feel about this impression of me, but I'm glad you took it back.
I offered him double the cost of admission if he would go see Justice League. And
so I went to go see it in XD for $14.
Cool. So $28 is on the table between me and Sejin.
I'll be honest. I did use a student discount, so it was only $10 for.
All right. So there's a Jackson or a Tubman on the line, depending on when you're listening to this.
Oh God. Oh man. Well, so okay. So how do we start this off? Can I say one thing?
Of course.
That Rampage trailer was amazing. Why didn't you tell me? I know, come on. Now why didn't you tell me that the joke was that he couldn't fly the helicopter? And also, oh my God, there was so much about the Rampage trailer that was so spot on. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is the true reason to go see that movie.
Dude, that movie looks like it's going to be incredible.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan looks like he gets it. Like, I bet The Rock gets it. There's a couple of moments that are pretty goofy from him too, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just chewing scenery like he's one of the fucking monsters. Like,
and if we have our way, he will become one of the monsters.
Oh my God, that would be so good.
To catch a wolf, you have to become a wolf.
He becomes all of the monsters. Oh my God.
Maybe he'll become Vern.
Right? Isn't he just a giant mouse?
No, Vern is the violent, extreme, radioactive nemesis. He's the purple, like, gargoyle thing that you turn into. I don't remember the... Curtis, I think, is the mouse's name. Because that's something I have in my brain.
Oh, God. Yeah, man, that Rampage trailer, though, that's something else.
Yeah.
Do we have to do this? Do we have to keep...
Yes, we do, Sejin. You know why? Because I wanted to talk about Justice League last week. I wanted to be the guys who were there, and instead, Kevin Smith's discussion about Justice League got featured on MovieWeb. I know that I don't have the notoriety or the fame of Kevin Smith, but it would have been cool if MovieWeb is like, Devon Decker actually liked Justice League. On his podcast, The Say Report.
Oh, man.
That is my MovieWeb impersonation.
I don't know how to put into words my neutral feelings about Justice League.
Well, the best part is you sent me a text message, and Sejin, I have to say, in the interest of not completely catching you off guard again, I didn't hate it as much as Batman v Superman, but I will be arguing that you indeed owe me my money back for Justice League. Now, right there, Sejin, I feel like you invalidate your argument, because if you enjoyed it more than Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, I think I win. I win.
No, because basically what I could have been saying in that moment, I'm not saying that this is how I feel about Justice League, but what I could have been saying in that moment was, this is like shitting and not bleeding. Like, I'm glad I was able to get that out, and I'm glad nothing's wrong, but it's still shit. It's still something I have to then deal with afterwards. That's basically what I was saying in that moment.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I gave you the opportunity to clarify. So I guess what you're saying is...
Because that's what Batman vs. Superman is it's just like a steaming pile of crap that also, like, was such a hard crap that, like, it hurt a little on the way out. Like, that's what Batman vs. Superman was
It's
to
a
me.
Wet blood shit. I get it. I think we all get Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice equal wet blood shit. Hashtag wet blood shit.
There you go. That's the Sarah Ford's final review on that. So Justice League, not a wet bloodshed. There you go. Man, okay. Here's the thing. It is solidly mediocre. I don't know. So this is where it comes down to I don't know whether or not you owe me money because like there isn't anything about that movie that I can outright say was like horrible. But man, like thin storytelling, thin characters, thin like so much going on. Also, you promised me a Superman movie I might like, if not a Justice League movie sans Superman. I got neither of those. I got just another shitty Superman story. Like,
I
all right.
will. I will admit. I will 100% admit that the Superman in this movie is, but he's so not consequential to the story. Like,
Oh, no,
time out,
no.
time out, time out, time out, time out, time out, time out.
Okay, yes.
Spoilers
Yes.
for
Yeah.
Justice League.
Yeah, by
3,
BT Dubs.
2, 1.
All right, you can't call Superman inconsequential
Ew,
to
he's
this film.
so fucking
He is
inconsequential
the
to this
Deus
film.
Ex Machina of this movie.
Yup, and that's fine.
Except no, because the true Deus Ex Machina shows up at the last moment and saves everybody. But that's not what they do with him. He shows up 1 hour into a 2-hour film, and then sit on him for 40 minutes doing fucking nothing but feeling the grass, and then he comes in and saves everybody. And they don't even do that, because he's really only in 3 scenes. They only show him come back, and that's the most interesting scene of him because he's like kind of confused with who he is. And then he's just like, oh, I just got banged by Lois, so I'm just going to sit here and feel the wind for a while. That's his second scene. And then his third scene is, this is the Superman that everybody hates because there is no problem I can't solve. There was no conflict. The second Superman showed up, they sucked the air out of the conflict balloon.
That's very true. That is
and the rest of
very
that
true.
movie just became waiting for the moment for Superman to just save everybody.
Can we-
The conflict was so inconsequential at that moment that everything that they had been doing up to that moment, they instantly forgot in that scene. The entire point of that scene is that we cannot let him get this last cube. We cannot let Steppenwolf get this last cube. Then they throw away the cube, literally throw away the cube, and let it sit there and run in the other direction from it. And then Steppenwolf gets it, and they all look back and they're like, "Oh, we got the last cube." Oh,
How did that
that's
happen?
what happened in
How
that
did
moment.
that happen?
The entire fucking MacGuffin of the first hour of that film is we cannot let him get this final fucking cube, and then they decide to completely ignore it for Superman. Because they're like, oh, Superman's back. We don't need to worry about the cubes no more. And it's just like, well, great. Everything I cared about in the first half of this movie is just completely pointless now.
Okay. I can't disagree. But we have to just talk about what may be the greatest line in cinema history, which is, dying changes a person. Even him.
Even him.
Fuck you, Aquaman! How would you know? How many times have you died, Aquaman? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about self-hating Aquaman for a bit, shall we? Like he cannot take this. He's just like, I hate Atlanteans, but I hate humans. I hate everybody because he is a true Zack Snyder like mutation because he is. Hold on a second. Might have to hit the cough button. No. All right. Sorry, I'm getting super impassioned. It's getting caught in my throat. Arthur. But like Aquaman is such a potentially amazing character, and that is the greatest sin that Zack Snyder always commits in every single one of his films. Is all you can see is such potential, and all of it is just either untapped or completely wasted, and that is. Arthur Curry in this movie is a perfect example of that. They have so many good almost moments with him, and then they pull back. Why? Why pull back? Ugh, it was so upsetting. But anyway, so like with Aquaman, like the idea that they have this idea of him in that moment when he's not Atlantean and he's not human, he doesn't know who he is, and they just go the easy route. They go the Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan, broody strongman route of him just being like, "I'm fine, I hate everybody. I'm gonna just drink and be pissed." Why not make him actually like miss somebody? There's no inclination that he gives a shit about anything in Atlantis. Why does he come back? It doesn't make sense that he turns around because up until the moment, we haven't seen him for 1 second give a shit about anything. And
he gave a shit about that small village that he provides fish with every year.
Imagine if they had contextualized it in some weird way in which maybe that village got attacked and that was why he turned around. But that's not why he turns around. He turns around because Atlantis is attacked, but everything we know about him up until that moment is that he fucking hates Atlantis. It's so weird. It's just a weird version of him. And you want to talk about weird versions of characters? What the hell were they doing with Barry Allen in this movie?
Oh, good. I'm glad that we've reached the Flash portion of the discussion, because
Oh my
I
God.
am not unconvinced that the direction that Ezra Miller was given is, have you seen that show Big Bang Theory?
Yes! Oh my
Uh,
God, that's the exact same thing that somebody said when I came out of the movie. Because it was like, I feel like that was kind of Sheldon-esque. And you know what I realized what it is? It's kind of Sheldon. What it is that dude on YouTube who put together a supercut of every time Sheldon says Bazinga, and it gets faster every time. It's like that. It's like they skipped 30 seconds into that video, and that's what they pulled out. Was that Sheldon at like 30 times speed screaming Bazinga at somebody?
Yeah, it's a be. If you could be Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory, but more on the spectrum,
And a
that
little
would
bit
be
more
great.
cocaine. If he did a little bit more cocaine.
Yeah, it was. It was all I could think was Sheldon Cooper, and I'm like, wow, way to cater to the lowest common denominator who like associate the Flash with Sheldon Cooper.
Well, and the idea that, oh, he's the nerd, so he has to act like this, but he's not the smart nerd. He's just like the antisocial, like unnecessary nerd. Yeah, that was real weird. So much weird stuff. Broody Cyborg, not broody Batman. I actually kind of enjoyed a lot of what was going on with Batman making jokes and shit.
Dude, because it's
The
Ben
funniest
Affleck.
character in the movie.
Ben
The
Affleck.
funniest character in the movie is Batman. That's when you know you might be doing Justice League a little disservice if the funniest character in your film is Batman.
I can't disagree with that statement. You know what I liked? I liked the confirmation in my mind that The Accountant is a prequel to this universe. Because I forgot that J.K. Simmons was in The Accountant until I watched it 3 times this past weekend.
Oh man.
Um,
Yeah.
and he was great as Gordon, though, in the 2 scenes that he was Gordon.
Yeah. But again, not enough of anything. And that is like super, it's just super surface level. Everything in this movie is super surface level. Just like a surface level glance at Barry Allen, and you're like, okay, he's a nerd and he's been struck by lightning, so he acts like this. And it's like, well, no, man, there's more going on than that. First glance at just Batman. Okay, well, he's gruff and he's murderous and he's thinks he knows right when maybe he doesn't necessarily know right. And it's like, okay. And then like you could see like the moments, the slight moments when like Joss Whedon came in and touched up the script, where like suddenly Bruce Wayne is having like complex, like deep emotional thought about the fact that he might bring Superman back to life and he might be evil. And there's like a moment of that, and you're like, oh, where was that? And then it disappears and it never comes back, and you're just like, oh fuck, like. There's so much potential in this movie, and it's all just squandered.
All I could talk about is the fact that there was finally a giant fucking spider in a Superman movie. That's all I could think when the Bat Spider showed up.
Yeah, man.
Jeez, it was. You know what though? Here's the thing: we're mocking this movie because there's a lot there to mock. You can't. It's mockable. It's highly mockable. That being
Right.
said, I found something to connect with in literally every single scene of the Justice League film.
Okay, and I was actually thinking about this because you had said last week that you found yourself connecting with every single character, and I realized what that is. It's because every single one of them is exactly the same. They're the same character. They're a broody figure that doesn't fit in because of their power. That's it. There's no level or complexity more or less than that in any single one of them. And that includes even Wonder Woman, who we've seen in another movie be so much more dynamic and complex than she was in this film. But every single one of them, and that's supposed to be the thing that kind of like brings them together, but they don't lean into it enough for it to be that. But they also don't shy away from it enough for me to ignore it. You know what I mean?
I get where
it's
you're
just
coming
a
from.
surface. It's just like a surface understanding of what it means to be like broody and powerful. And it's like, oh well, obviously nobody talks to you, so you have no friends, and it's because and so now the only other people that will understand you are other people that are broody and lonely, and so everybody has to be broody and lonely. And it's like, I mean, imagine a Barry Allen that was just like, no, we should all like hang out, and that's not what you got.
No, that is not what you got. Correct me if I'm wrong. Miles Dyson built Cyborg, right?
I was thinking Skynet the entire time.
Yeah,
He's
right.
basically
It's
just
all you can
creating
think
it.
of. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
he's just
this
he's
is this
creating
ends
a
poorly.
Terminator.
This
Right,
ends.
we've seen this already. What are you doing, Joe?
I have to say, Cyborg was great though. I mean, that guy has done basically nothing, and I
So,
really liked his Cyborg.
okay, so here's where it gets a little gray for me because like okay, so I've shit on this movie for the last 10 minutes. Let me talk about some stuff that I actually kind of liked. I think individually, I think every single one of those actors is doing their fucking damnedest to actually build those characters and cares about those characters, which Sans Henry Cavill, who I think is just doing whatever is being told, whatever he's being told, right? And that's always been my issue with Zack Snyder's specific Superman, is it doesn't feel like he's much of a character at all. I don't know, but like I agree with you about the cyborg stuff. I think Jason Momoa as Arthur is amazing. As Aquaman is super cool, and I'm excited to see Aquaman. I'm excited to see him actually have some complex like emotions and feelings.
Yeah,
But
that's
in this,
probably not going to happen.
eh,
You know that, right?
what in the Aquaman movie?
I don't think there's going to be an Aquaman movie. I feel like WB, Warner Brothers, why do they call them WB, right? The WB.
WB.
I feel like if I'm Warner Brothers, right,
Yeah.
and we just laid this movie,
Mhm.
I am stopping production on everything else.
I think that from what I understand, and this is just, no, this is just a bunch of nonsense that's not being fact checked at all. But from what I understand, they're clearly going forward with more Wonder Woman. Like, they'd be dumb not to do that. And they are going forward with an Aquaman movie because at this point, they've already sunk the money into hiring people. So if they pull out now, they still have to pay a bunch of people. Might as well make the movie and see what you can make back on it, right? I do not think they were anywhere near making a Flash movie yet, and so they probably won't ever make that. And I do think they're going to give serious reconsideration to what they do with Ben Affleck's Batman now, because not only did this flop, but also all of the weird shit going on right now in Hollywood, and the Afflecks being squarely in the middle of a lot of it. Like, I think that they are going to step back from the Batman trilogy that they were going to try and make with Ben Affleck as well. Maybe not completely. We will probably see a Ben Affleck Batman movie, but it's going to be after a lot of thought and a lot of like come to Jesus moments. I don't think we will ever see a Flash movie, and I don't think we'll ever see more than one Aquaman movie. But I do think we'll see an Aquaman movie based solely on the fact that they've already started paying people. Why not just go through with it? You know?
That's true. I mean, as we've learned from the Animaniacs song, they have pay or play contracts. I'm so sorry. It's all I could think when I'm like, we're talking about the Warner Brothers.
It's you're not far off from the truth though, which is the best part about Animaniacs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, man. But like, so like, I think that individually, I think they were all working their asses off, right? And I do think that there was actually good stuff within this movie. Like, there's tons of really good moments. There's tons of really good jokes. There's tons of really beautiful moments. I mean, the fight between the debate between Batman and the rest of them, Bruce and the rest of them, about whether or not they should bring Supes back to life, is a fascinating, like, really good look at them as a team. It's just we never got like a juxtaposed version of that where they were actually all hanging out just as friends. Like in the Avengers, like the Avengers and Age of Ultron both have their flaws. Like, I do not think they are the best Marvel movies. They are definitely completely flawed in a lot of ways. But I think one of the best things about those movies, and the reason that I love watching them anyway, is it's just great to just see friends being friends and them like working together in really good ways. And you didn't get a single moment of that in Justice League. There was never a moment where they all just kind of sat and had a beer.
They don't know each other. They do not know each other. It's basically fucking strangers. This was Big Brother Justice League.
Yes, but remember that like that was kind of what was going on in Avengers too, and we still were able to find moments like that in the Avengers, right? They were able to find subtle moments where they would talk to each other, even if it wasn't all of them on screen at once, right? Like, we didn't get much team interaction in this. You know, part of it is because I think they were scared to put out another movie longer than 2 hours. After a lot of the complaints with Batman versus Superman, with it being as long as it was and having no substance, I think Warner Brothers was afraid to let Zack Snyder make another like 3 hour long film. Because I think if Zack Snyder had his way, this movie would have been like, if 2 parts, honestly. Like, if he, with the amount of extra footage he supposedly filmed,
which would have been great, because you know who wouldn't have been in part 1? Superman. That would have been the fucking credit moment.
Or that would have been the climax, right, of the first one, is them bringing him back to life and him not being quite right, and that would have been like the oh no, what have we done moment, and then cut to black, credits roll type situation.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and like so that would have been that would and then it would have been totally forgivable for him to then show up because they could have taken their time with it and crafted it well, and it just didn't feel like that this time around, man. But like I said, like I do want to talk about like the things that I really like about this movie. I think a lot of the visuals, I think a lot of like the way that things are pictured in this world are much better than than in the last couple of well, I'm just thinking of just like Man of Steel just being grayscale, you know, like in my head Man of Steel might as well have been black and white. It was just so colorless and like devoid of fun. And like in this you actually got to see some, now granted it was like high contrast Zack Snydery versions of color, but it was there, right? And that sort of stuff. I really like the idea of them going to Steppenwolf because of the story of the idea of the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and the Kingdom of Men all coming together. I mean, totally like fucking. I could not stop thinking of the Lord of the Rings the entire time, but that like that's fine, right? Although I will say the unforgivable comparison that I can't I cannot believe they dared to do this, but also I why wouldn't they? I guess. But how is this not just them trying to beat Marvel to the Infinity Gauntlet and like the Infinity Stones and all that shit? They practically had Thanos as the villain of this movie.
I almost thought that like Darkseid was going to happen. I could have
Yeah,
sworn that Steppenwolf was acting as like a herald for him, and that we
they
were
say it at
going
one
to.
point.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's gonna happen, right? Like, you guys, good for you if you do this, because fuck you, Marvel. We've been playing catch up 5 movies, but now we beat you to the finish line.
Hmm.
And I mean, and that would have done something. Darkseid would have presented a challenge for Superman, and would have
Well, again,
definitely.
imagine
It would have been great.
so
I
like
can't disagree.
picture this, right? Because one of my biggest issues with the story, with the plot line, and the fact that they bring Superman back comes specifically from this idea that Steppenwolf was to be stopped, always was to be stopped by the alliance between Atlanteans, Amazons, and men, right? So imagine if he had been stopped by Wonder Woman, Arthur, and Batman. I keep calling him Arthur. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Batman, right? Like the three kingdoms coming together, and then in his death, the recreation of Superman and Darkseid at the same time, right? Like, and then that's your sequel: is the entire Justice League, Superman at the front going up against Dark, right? That would have
You
been
are
so
you are
good.
100% in the same page as me. Superman, because he shows up in literally 3 scenes in this movie, I am convinced that the reshoots that happened, right? Because everybody was talking about Henry Cavill's beard had to be hidden with CGI, and I'm like, I did not know that. That like people told me that after I saw this movie, and I'm like, oh, okay, well they did a pretty good job because he didn't look like Caesar
Yeah, I had no
Romero.
idea. I had no idea. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but I 100% believe that the reshoots were to add Superman into this film, because let's just talk about the fact that you're right. The whole storyline is leading up to us coming together to defeat Steppenwolf. And then you
Except it
have,
isn't us.
well, you know what I mean.
No, that's my point. Is in the very end when it's supposed to be the three of them coming together to finally defeat him,
I
it
wasn't
takes
done.
somebody. Yeah,
I was
yeah,
not done. I was saying you have that. Like, the whole story is leading up to the climax that you just described. And then you have that fucking scene. That fucking scene that they should have cut because of the changes they made, where fucking weird flowers grow from the ground. And it's like, and that, like, let's talk about 3 things in Justice League that will stick with me forever. That is number 3. And we will get to 1 and 2. Oh, yes, we will. But those weird fucking flowers growing at the end, I'm like, oh, that was when Superman was supposed to come back. That was supposed to be what brought him back to life. That is the shooting script. It says Steppenwolf is defeated, weird fucking flowers grow, as Superman's eyes open into ground.
and suddenly cut to like Clark's grave, hole blasted through it, right?
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
It's like, because it makes sense, right? Like, why do those fucking flowers grow? Also, Zack Snyder, I love his ability to make me care about the entire world by introducing me to one nuclear family.
Yeah, just one little family that you just kind of latch onto, and you're like, they represent me. They represent everybody.
Well, no, the Justice League represents me because I'm brooding and have a superpower that separates me from society. Uh, No, not
That's a
really.
good Ezra Miller impression.
That's your sign.
Oh my god.
So bad. I call it the Speed Force. Why would you introduce the Speed Force?
And why would it be that he named it that?
Yes, yes. So I mean, granted, it's not perfect, but it was never going to be perfect. I accepted that going in, and the fact that I left it being like, I legitimately liked that movie. What the hell is wrong with me?
I like I said, like it was stunningly mediocre. It was perfectly middle of the line for me. I don't feel like I'll ever go back to it because I don't feel like I need to. It was a lot of connective tissue for whatever comes next and whatever came before.
That's
Like,
yeah.
and honestly, the problem is that what's come before it, the only thing I care about is one movie, Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? So like, what is going to be the thing it connects to? So if there isn't anything on the other end of this movie's completely lost all purpose for me then. You know, as it stands, I don't think it's that great. But if there's nothing else for me to care about after this, why would I ever go back to Justice League?
Then it appropriately dies on the vine. You're not
Right.
wrong. So I'd just like to address 1 and 2 that will stick with me forever from Justice League, if you'll allow me.
Please do.
Before
Please
we
do.
wrap this conversation up. Number 2 is the fact that the end credit scene, like after all of the credits, Lex Luthor is in a prison that is not the prison he was left in at the end of Batman v Superman.
No, it's a
Because
different prison.
he was basically left in like the same prison they put Jason Statham in at the end of Fast 7 or Furious 7.
Nice.
Like he was just put underneath the ground and like we'll just leave him here. Suddenly he's like in regular population and like there's a fire alarm going off. So I'm thinking, and this theory gets credit. It goes to Jeff. It goes to Jeff Hibbert because he's like, wouldn't it be great if instead of having to suffer through another Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor, we are introduced to his father, and that's the real Lex Luthor. And I'm like, I can get behind that. That's the thing I could believe. So when it's a different prison and you don't see his face, I'm like, holy shit, they're going to do what Jeff said. They're going to introduce a better Lex Luthor. And I, card carrying, love Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Oh, it was one of the few things I actually really enjoyed about Batman v
Superman. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone on that.
No, I really liked it.
So then he turns around and I'm like, oh.
He kills a woman with a jar of piss.
Yeah,
I think that we
yeah,
could
he
all
does.
get behind that villain.
And it's Holly Hunter. No offense, Holly Hunter. But come on, your character's terrible in Batman v Superman. Like, it's hard not to be like, good for you, Lex Luthor.
To be fair, a lot of things are horrible in that movie, Holly Hunter. We're just saying your character's one of them.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, like, it's good acting that makes your character so terrible. Like, it's like, you hate her because of how well and how much you put into that role. Like, so kudos on the acting. That character is terrible. And I was not sad when Lex Luthor blew you up with piss. I'm just saying.
That is what happens in that movie. That is what happens in that movie.
So then they turn him around, and basically they lifted the Joker's escape from the Killing Joke and assigned it to Lex Luthor. And I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of sucked. But there was that one moment where I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool that like they're going to introduce a different Lex Luthor. And going forward, and like if it had turned around and it had been fucking Bryan Cranston, I would have shit my pants right then. Because like that was the kind of thing I'm like, this is going to be cool. And then I'm like, oh no, it's just someone else is in his cell somehow. But that I remember, that anticipation stuck with me.
Yeah,
man. And the number one thing that will stick with me forever, as I go through every day, this will at least touch on my consciousness briefly, is that fucking cover that they opened this movie with.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean that cover, the cover of in the last moment, also the gorgeous moment with Arthur Curry in the waves and Icky Thump playing, and
yeah, that was great. Well, let's not with Aquaman, great music cues, but that song started. I can't remember the song right now, and it's killing me because it's one of those songs that's like, it's in my head. It sounds like the Sopranos theme song.
The Sopranos.
Everybody knows that one. That everybody knows song.
Yeah, well,
With
let's see
like
what this is. Let's
let's put
do
it
the
with like
Justice League soundtrack.
breathy lady voice.
I forget. Oh,
Everybody knows. It's everybody knows. Everybody knows is a song.
hmm
And I laughed. I laughed out loud. Like, and it was not the same type of laughter that I had been giving for Rampage, like mere moments
Sigrid.
before. Yeah, Sigrid. Oh, that's interesting, Sigrid. Thank you, because that's gonna play later in the episode. You'll see why. Um, yeah, that was like it was just a bad choice, and I laughed. I
Yeah,
laughed at that bad choice of song, of arrangement, and I felt bad. And I felt bad in that moment because I'm like, I was not gonna laugh at this movie, but
one.
literally that's minute one.
Yeah, man. I will say, talking about soundtrack, one last little thing about something that I did kind of enjoy that I didn't think about until the end of the movie when the credits were rolling. Danny Elfman did the
The
music for
Batman
this
part,
movie.
oh, so good.
Danny Elfman did all of the orchestration for this particular film. He's also the dude that did Batman '89. So like it was kind of actually cool the idea that they were smart enough to go back to that well. So I do enjoy that little tidbit. But yeah, there was just so much of this movie that I was just like waiting for something really cool to happen, and it just never happened.
Which brings us to the middle point of the episode. As you know, as we have spoken of last week and this week, there is currently a wager on the table on and do I owe Sejan $20 for his Justice League experience? And we live in the 21st century. It's 2017. God help us, it's 2017. So right now, when this posted, we started a poll on our Twitter at the Say Report. And you can go right now and vote either that I owe Sejan $20 or we're square. So that's going to be active for 72 hours. I think you can do a poll on Twitter for 72 hours. If
Can we
not, it will
vote?
be 24 or 48. But I'm
Can,
hoping for 72 hours.
can we vote? Can we vote? Can we do that?
Yes,
Can
but
we
you
get on
only
there?
get one vote. So they're
Yeah,
going to
but
cancel each other out, CJ.
but I like to get on Twitter, and then I like to get on Twitter as the Say Report.
Oh, the Say Report can't vote, CJ. Siege and Sarowick at Siege versus the World and at Devon D. Decker can both vote. But, so go out there, go to at the Say Report on Twitter and cast your vote. You've heard the argument that we've made for the last 30 minutes. Do you think that Sejan enjoyed this film enough that I am not culpable for his ticket costs? Or am I still fucking on the hook for $20?
Excellent, excellent. Oh man. So yeah, I gotta shake this Justice League off of me. How am I gonna shake this Justice League off of me, Devin?
Well, let me tell you something interesting that's going to happen. This coming weekend, unless unless I sign a non-disclosure agreement, I will talk about it next episode of the Say Report. I will be playing my very first game of Dungeons and Dragons. Now that's not strictly true. I've played Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times before, but this is the first time that like I built my own character and I'm like sort of invested in what's going to happen.
Okay, all right.
In the lead up to this, I have been put into a group chat with all of the players who are going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons. Because as everybody knows, or as everybody knows, as everybody knows, Dungeons and Dragons is like 90% bullshitting and 10% the actual game, right?
All right.
So that you gotta have a group chat so that we can get that 90% bullshit quota, right? Like beforehand. And now, if
90% bullshit 100% of the day.
if I sound like a little on edge about this, is because the bullshit it affected me while I wasn't playing Dungeons and Dragons yesterday. Plus, I'm drinking Jolt Cola, and their slogan: "All the sugar, twice the caffeine." It's great. I feel so good. Oh yeah, man, I'm going to the moon.
You're sitting here talking about D&D, drinking Jolt. You're living in 1993.
Welcome, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was. It really was good. Fuck me. Way to grab credit, Devin. Anywho, yesterday, I watched the Pats game and I'm like, I need to take a nap. I was just super tired. I cleaned the basement last night for this D&D campaign, and I took a nap. And that nap was short-lived because this little group chat kept going off. And what this group chat was talking about, Siegen, was Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. Have you played this? Have you heard about this? Look at me, I'm Johnny Carson.
Have I heard about this? Yes, I've heard about Wolfenstein New Colossus. No, I have not played it. Nah, I mean, like, not my kind of, not my cup of tea, not my German brew. I don't know what you would call it.
I know, so like, oh, he's good. I hope he's gonna come up with something good. Not my plate of strudel.
There you go.
It's not really my
Yeah,
plate
no,
of
man.
strudel.
I am not big on the whole because it's first person shooter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just not the normal type of gaming I play. So I get what it is, but I don't know much about it. Why? What's up with it?
So what this conversation was, and this is going to be the first of like this discussion, is one of the guys, Joe, just got the game, and Zach from Board with Friends, who's part of the reason why I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, asked him if he was playing on Hurt Me Plenty, which, like, so if you haven't played the Wolfenstein games, very distinct names of all the difficulties. And Wolfenstein, I never played Doom growing up, but I had all of the Wolfensteins on my PC.
So let's break this down a little bit further. Wolfenstein is, okay, you put it in the same wheelhouse as Doom, but what does that mean?
Well, so it's one of those, Wolfenstein in, like, history is one of those first-person shooters released by id Software.
PC, right?
Yeah, PC. It's a PC DOS game. And, you know, it, instead of fighting demons on the Mars, you're fighting Nazis in, like,
The Mars.
appropriate time. No, inappropriate time. It's like World War II. You're a POW, Captain Castle Wolfenstein, and
Don't do this. Don't ignore his name. You know his name. Say it.
Billy B.J. Blakowski.
Yeah, B.J. Blazkowicz. All right.
Or Terror Billy, as they call him now. But we'll get to Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. First, we'll build a lovely foundation for this conversation. Mm-hmm. So Zach asked if they're playing on Hurt Me Plenty, which is, you know, like the hard difficulty, not the insane difficulty. And they're like, oh no, it was too hard for me, so I like knocked it down to the easiest. Now this is where I'm upset, because I was trying to take a nap, but my phone kept going off. And I have it silenced, right? But it's silenced to vibrate, so I could hear the vibration every time these guys had the conversation. So I understand that I am culpable for some of this. But I check it, and he says, you know, he put it on the lowest difficulty, and I said, oh, can I play Daddy? Which is the name of the lowest difficulty from the original Wolfenstein. And they're like, yeah, and I'm like, you know, if I were playing this game, I'd be playing on I Am Death Incarnate, which was what the hardest difficulty was called. And I didn't really think a lot about Wolfenstein after that, right? I'm like, oh, I showed off some Wolfenstein knowledge. I was a little baffled at the fact that both of them, like, because Sean said that he was playing it too, both of them had ended up going to the easiest difficulty mode from this game. Because, like, they've people who've been playing video games for about as long as I have, right? I mean, nobody in my friend group has been playing video games as long as me.
As we've established, you're 100 years old, if not more.
Well, there's that, and also I had an Atari 2600 when I was 2 years old. Playing the Superman game, actually.
Bring it around.
I try, right? I try to have a nice continuity every episode. And then I went to you, and I went to Siegen, and I'm like, man, like, it kind of bums me out. All these people talking about, like, they're playing on the easiest difficulty, and, like, I kind of want to buy this game to play it on the hardest difficulty and be like, I played it on the hardest difficulty. What? I don't know, because I'm petty or whatever. And that's when Siegen, and this is where you joined the story, Siege, brought to my attention something strange that's going on in the gaming community regarding Wolfenstein. Do you want to play your own role here, Siegen?
Yeah, sure. I'll pick up documentary style. I will say, no. You came at me and you were just like, well, you didn't come at me. I don't mean to make it sound like you were like, yo, bro.
Bring It On is the name of the medium difficulty of Wolfenstein.
Oh man. No, you said, these guys are talking about knocking it down to easy, and that kind of irks me a bit. And I was just like, oh, well, I don't, what I was trying to say, and I don't know if it came completely across as I don't blame that for irking you, but also from what I understand, the game doesn't really make it worth playing on anything harder than that.
Right, it's not that you pushed me towards it, but you said that, and I'm like, why would a game like this exist? Is the question that I have, right? Because
Hmm.
I've been playing the first game that I'm like, I'm always going to play on the hardest difficulty mode. I don't care. Is God of War 3. And that
Okay.
is because I started God of War 3 and I had beat the first two God of Wars on hard mode eventually.
Can
Like
I tell you what I did the second I started God of War 3?
yes,
I had
please.
I had a thought in my head where I thought I played the last two on like normal difficulty and they were fun, but I kind of just want to beat the shit out of everything. Easy difficulty it is.
And
So,
there lies the difference between Siegen and I.
hmm.
And I don't get me wrong, I will do that too. If I'm playing Infamous, Infamous is the game that is infamous for that, and that's because you need to play through those games twice. You need to have a good playthrough and a bad playthrough, and
Right.
because it's harder to be good, every good playthrough I would go on the hardest difficulty level, so that it's like it's hard to be good, right? Like it's easy to give into your base desires. And then when I would do my bad playthrough, I would put it on the easiest difficulty mode. So then I do feel like a living fucking god because
Right.
one electric bolt will kill like 27 dudes,
Hmm.
and I'll be like,
Yeah. So where does this take you with
so
Wolfenstein?
where it takes me with Wolfenstein, and the last important thing that I don't know if CJ mentioned was, I mean, people just want to experience the story of
Oh,
Wolfenstein,
yeah, yeah.
which is
So let me contextualize that one a little bit. No, from what I understand, the big thing with really starting with Wolfenstein: The New Order, which was the remake last year, there was a lot of this consensus that it was a really, really good game. First-person shootery with nothing new in that context. But what it really brought to the table was that the story and the way that they actually developed BJ Black, Terror Billy, I guess as he's now called, like the way that they really kind of got behind the storytelling and the moment to moment things that happen, it became a set piece game. And so like it was this really big thing where like get to the set pieces and really experience them, and they're fascinating and phenomenal and weird and funny. And so that's why everybody really kind of latched onto that one. So when it came around to this one, everybody kind of went into it wanting that and not really wanting the like technical feat that they were trying to do with the harder difficulties. Not that they were even really pushing them that hard, which I think is part of the problem, is that they didn't really give people a reason to play the harder difficulties. But yeah, so that's the consensus with a lot of the people that are talking about this game, is that it's much better to just play it on easy just to get to the set piece moments and to just experience the story.
so what Devon did. What I did was I went out to the Red Box rather than spending the $30 to buy it on sale for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whatever. And I paid $3 to rent this game. And I said, I'm going to play it on the hardest difficulty. Now, that's not strictly true. The hardest difficulty available from the beginning is I Am Death Incarnate. And if you're able to beat it on that, you unlock Mein Leben.
Almost spit up my soda.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Oh God.
Which is as difficult as I Am Death Incarnate, but you only have one life. There's no saving at all, auto or manual. So basically, you play it like I'm really this dude, and if the
Man.
Nazis kill me, well, the Nazis kill me.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This game's all about killing Nazis. I think we mentioned that, but just want to keep saying that.
Well,
Killing
don't worry,
Nazis.
we were gonna get to the killing Nazi part.
Well, because, it's upsetting some people that he's out there killing these innocent Nazis. And I just want to say to those people, too bad. He's killing Nazis.
Oh, and they are not innocent. And let's get
No.
down to it. So I play it on the hardest difficulty mode. And the thing that kills me, the thing that just slows me down, first of all, yeah, it's friggin' difficult. And you know why it's difficult? I'm not a bullet sponge. If I get shot with a bullet, I'm gonna die, just like in real life. So
Oops.
so it adds stakes to the game. And like every situation where I die, it's sort of made it, I hate to compare anything to Dark Souls because it just seems like the easy comparison, but it kind of made it Dark Souls-esque where each time I would eke a little bit closer to victory,
Yeah.
and then I would be like, "Oh, but there's a Nazi behind this door." Plus, this game, like real kudos to Wolfenstein 2, you're in a wheelchair for the entire first level. So, like, you move awkwardly.
Oh man. Well, you
And
know what those Germans say: "Get good,
get good.
get good."
Mein Leben. Um, so I'm playing the game, and I get through the first level, and the things that just keep getting in the way are these huge set-piece story moments. And most of them you can skip, right? You hit the circle button. I'm playing on PS4, full disclosure, and you can skip it until, for some reason, I'm in the past. I am a young BJ Blazkowicz,
Ah, nice.
and my mother is telling me, I'm giving you this ring, and when you find a girl that you love, you'll give her this ring. And I'm like, what is happening? I want to go kill Nazis. I did not sign on for this. And hitting the circle button's not doing anything. Like, oh, I can move the camera. It's like coming to get. Am I supposed to do something? And I'm just sitting there watching my mother talk to me about this. And then I hear the front door open. I assume it's the front door. It may have been a kitchen or side door. And she goes, oh, no, your father's home. Hide in the closet. So I go hide in the closet with the dog. And he comes marching in. And I find out that I am in trouble in the past for hanging out with a little black girl. And that my father didn't raise anybody who'd be hanging out with no hard N. Hard N.
Man.
So he uses it twice. He uses it twice, like rapid succession. He's like, "Rrr." And I'm just sitting there in the friggin' in the closet, and the dog's like losing his temper a little bit, and I just gotta sit there and watch it. And I'm like, man, I always kind of wondered what it would be like to have an abusive father. Nailing it, Wolfenstein II. Nailing it.
The new Colossus is your abuse.
Jeez, I'm just like, oh my god. So then, but here's the strange thing, right? This man, my father, right? Like, I'm BJ right now. My father is clearly a racist fuck. And he has just dropped the N-word. I don't care that it's of the time, right?
So you choose to throw the baseball at him, right? Is that what's happening?
Oh, no. Oh, that happens, too. There's something happens. I forgot about that. Thank you, but we'll get there. Not only that, he's clearly racist as fuck, but then he turns his ire onto my mother for defending me. And rather than use, like, a real slur against Jewish people, he just uses Jew. And I'm like, see, that took me out of this, right? Like, it was kind of like an immersive experience, but, like, you're talking about how my mother is useless, and you're not going as hard with her. And it just seemed odd. That's just something that, like, took me out of the story a little bit. But then he hits my mother, and that's when the dog loses his temper and jumps out of the closet and attacks him. So I go to check on my mother, and she goes, get out of here, Billy. So I pick up a flower vase and go to hit my father over the head with it. Cut to, outside, I'm holding a shotgun, and my father is telling me to shoot the dog for biting him. This dog cannot be, he's an awful dog, you gotta kill him. So, like, the first thing I try to do is take the shotgun, aim up at my dad. No, it won't let me do that. Won't let me do that. And I'm like, well, this is weird, right? Because, like, if I were in this situation for real, right? Where's the immersion?
Right.
I might, like, even if they let me just point it at him, right? Like, so maybe I can't shoot it. Like, maybe he didn't really have anything in there. It was a test, right? Kingsman me all you fucking want game, right? Or maybe, like, I pointed at him, and then even if I pull the trigger, he pushes it away and then beats the shit out of me, right? Because it's supposed to be one of these things that's like character building for who BJ Blazkowicz is. Because apparently, guy who's beating up Nazis is not enough motivation anymore.
No, man.
He also needs to have had a shitty childhood. So I end up aiming like left of the dog and firing, so I miss. I get pushed down by my father. He picks up the gun, kills the dog. Back in modern times, which is 1961. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that was about. I just wanted to kill Nazis. I really have.
You just wake up as BJ. You're just like wake up in bed, just be like, "Whoa, what the hell was that?" Oh well, back to Nazi killing.
What a weird dream. That was not actually anything that happened. So then, like, you're in the wheelchair and you go around and around, and then you eventually leave. And this is where the game fucking lost me. Now, I will be completely honest with you. On I Am Death Incarnate, it took me like an hour and a half to beat the first level. And again, I loved every minute of it. I honestly did. Because like I had to use traps and I had to like use my wits, and it really felt like I was stuck on a German U-boat trying to get away. It was fun.
Okay.
It was
Right.
It's what a video game is supposed to be, right? Like if it were on easy mode, I probably would have like shot one Nazi and been like, I own this U-boat now.
I am the captain now.
BJ Blackwood. So then you beat the level, and again, I skipped the two cutscenes that I could skip, but then it's another one where I'm stuck. Oh no, this is terrible. I just want to kill Nazis. What are you doing? And so basically what it is I'm the cameraman and I get to watch what's happening. Yeah. And what is happening is General Engel, and I only know her name because the propaganda that is the loading screens keeps talking about her. There's no indication that that's who this is.
That's who that is.
It's
Okay.
just like,
Fantastic.
she has knocked out Carolyn Baker, whose name I only know because if I look at her a little... You ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah.
You know when they go into the simulation of deep thought and like the title appears above the guy?
Yeah, the
and
data
like,
shows up.
That was very strange that happened. That's what happened when I looked at Carolyn Baker. And that's how I know her name. And so Engel is like, I'm going to cut your head off with this fire axe, and I'm going to make my daughter watch. Her daughter, no word of a lie, looks like Pam Poovey from friggin' Archer. That's all I can think the whole time. And she's like, and the whole time she's mocking her daughter because of something that she read in her diary and about the fact that she promised to cut off sweets, but they found cookies and cakes and lemonade in her bedchamber. It's fucked up, man. I'm just like, I don't care about any of this. I want to kill fucking Nazis.
Oh,
so Engel takes her fire axe and she swings it, clean cut, one strike, cuts off Carolyn Baker's head, decapitates it. Like, just done, right? And I have no emotional feeling from this, because I don't know who this fucking lady is. But we'll get to, I think it's supposed to mean something, Siegen.
Oh, God.
So then she's like, oh, look at that. I have practiced decapitating people with fire axes. Now, you talked about how they're trying to do something, like, technically beautiful with this game. There's not a drop of fucking blood on that fire axe.
Awesome.
I'm just like, okay, real immersive, Wolfenstein. So she then proceeds to pick up the decapitated head of Carolyn Baker and mock kissing me with it. So she just shoved a decapitated head at the screen like a kid playing with fucking dolls.
Weird.
And I'm like, this is crazy. And then she turns on her daughter, who is like it was like visibly upset that this whole thing happened. And her name is Sigrun, which is why it's funny that everybody knows was covered by Sigrun.
That's amazing.
Because it all connects. And she goes, oh, do you want some? I read your diary. And she mocks this woman's decapitated head kissing her daughter. So that's like, oh, okay, so the stuff that she's writing about is homosexual in nature. And then, because Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus, doesn't give a fuck, she mocks the decapitated head performing cunnilingus on her daughter.
Jesus.
I'm just like, I would like to kill Nazis now. You have given me enough of a reason to want to kill this woman. Can we move it along? The answer is no. We cannot move it along. So then she throws the head against the wall. It bounces underneath an SS soldier who crushes it with his left foot, which I feel like that's significant that it was his left foot and not his right foot. And she hands her daughter the axe and says, kill this other guy, Private Wyatt. Now, Private Wyatt, I chose to save in the beginning. It was him or Private Fergus. And I thought for ease of efficiency in conversation, Wyatt is easier to say than Fergus. So that was literally the only reason I saved him. You're supposed to care about these guys. It's a real hard, it's a real Sophie's choice right now. Literally, Wyatt is quicker to say than Fergus. Thanks, Wolfenstein II, real immersive game experience. So then she hands her daughter the axe and is like, you need to cut off his head like your mother did. And she doesn't want to do it. And she's like, I should turn you in, right? I shouldn't be using my station in the Reich to protect you, right? Because I've read your diary. And I'm just like, shut up about her diary. I honestly don't care. I get it. You're all Nazis, but not all Nazis are bad. Is that really what you're trying to tell me, Gabe? What are you doing?
Oh my god.
So her daughter, holding the fire axe that just minutes ago decapitated Carolyn Baker, and has no blood on it. There's no blood at all on this axe.
Her supposed girlfriend. That's what we're getting at here,
no,
right?
Not even her supposed girlfriend. Like, because she's just a resistance fighter. I think she just has feelings about women. I don't know. It's freaking ridiculous. And I know it's not her supposed girlfriend because of something that happens later on. And she takes the axe and she, with the butt of the axe handle, hits a guard so that he drops his pistol. Wyatt gets a hold of the pistol and starts shooting, like just wildly. Like he's not aiming or anything.
Oh, God.
And everybody is able to escape the room, except for Sigrun, Wyatt, and myself. And then I am handed the power armor that Carolyn was apparently wearing. There's no indication of that. It is just, here, put on Carolyn's power armor. It fits like a glove, despite her being a skinny, shorter woman, and me being BJ friggin' Blazkowicz, the Coke machine with legs. And then Sigrun, like as soon as I'm in this power armor and I'm up, she proceeds to get on her knees, execution style, and says, please make it quick. To which Wyatt goes, I'm not a cold-blooded mother like your monster. I'm not a cold-blooded monster like your mother. So then Sigrun, she joins the resistance right then and there.
Oh,
here's
God.
how you shut down this super airship that we're on. Finally, I get to kill Nazis. After 30 fucking minutes of like, here's why you should hate Nazis. It just boggled my mind. Like, at least this game, by playing on the hard mode, I got to experience something. If I was on easy and I was just jumping between the literally two like interactive scenes that I got to see, I would be pissed. I would be pissed. And then here's how I know that Carolyn is not Sigrun's lover. Because once I get into the heart of the Nazi airship, the Osmerzer, which is something like that, right? It's like basically a spaceship. It's like a
The Ozymandias?
Yes. Fuck you. Once I get into it and I release the U-boat, because apparently we stole the U-boat that I was on when I was in the wheelchair, and then the magic airship came and attached a magnet to it. So I released that magnet, and then I gotta go walk back to the escape pods, which is where Sigrun and Wyatt are. It could have been Sigrun and Fergus, but I already covered that. As I'm walking back, like BJ Blazkowicz, the full weight of everything that's happened falls upon him. And he's like, Carolyn, give me your wings. I don't know if I can make it. And I'm like, who the fuck is Carolyn Baker? Why does she mean so much to him that he's like praying to her right now?
Now,
and then, no, and then hold on one second. And then a giant fucking Nazi robot fell from the sky with two Ghostbuster neutrino wands for arms and
amazing.
Vaporized me. And then I went to bed because I'm like, I can't do it anymore. And then I did come home and I played some more. I got one of those vaporizing guns and I fucking just vaporized the shit ton of Nazis. Nice. And now we're here. So ask your question.
Is there a chance that maybe you're missing something because this is a sequel?
I mean, I have to imagine yes. I mean, because the trophy that pops up when you choose between Fergus and Wyatt is deja vu. So, like, I imagine, like, that might be how the first game ends, and it literally picks up right from the end of the first game. I also will freely admit that I was banging the circle button. So, like, Carolyn may have been explained in one of the cutscenes that I skipped, but I'm like, I don't give a shit about this. I just want to kill Nazis.
I think we figured out what kind of player you are, Devon.
I just want to play the game. I just want to play the game. And you know what? It's because Wolfenstein, literally the only, like, DOS game that I ever played. And that game, here you are. Go kill Nazis. Maybe you'll find a chain gun.
Here's a bigger gun. Here's the biggest gun. Keep going.
Exactly. And eventually you'll fight Hitler in a suit of armor with 4 chain guns.
Oh man,
Wolfenstein. But here's the thing, I would recommend that you play Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. Just play it on, like, not the easiest difficulty. Because here's the thing, once I did get off of the crazy fucking airship that had, like, literal Nazi super robots on it, and I was just on the U-boat trying to kill Nazis that had apparently stowed away and hidden themselves in the ballast tank for 5 months.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude, like, so one of the speeches is, these Nazis have been hidden in the U-boat for 5 months since you stole it. They must be starving and desperate. And I'm like, so we could probably just leave them, right?
Just lock the door for a couple of days and just go sit on an island. It'll be fine.
This kind of sounds like one of those things that solves itself.
What is that reference about the rats in a hole and then one rat will eat them all and become the biggest rat?
Yeah, exactly. Then I'll just kill the big rat.
No, right, and then you just kill the biggest rat. Yeah, you can basically let the problem take care of itself.
And I have a gun that shoots out hockey pucks that then can be detonated. I think I can deal with the big rat. But then it's revealed that they're sending out a signal to that airship, and that's how they keep finding us. So it's like, oh, I guess we got to deal with this.
That's not Anthony Bourdain. I just remember what the reference is. It's Anthony Bourdain. No,
is it Too Fast, Too Furious?
James Bond. No, it's James Bond. Not Skyfall, but the one before it. There,
Quantum of Solace.
Oh no, it is Skyfall. Sorry, Spectre is the one with
Christopher Waltz.
Yeah,
Christoph Waltz.
So Christoph Waltz, and then Skyfall is the one with. Not Antonio
Javier
Banderas.
Bardem.
Javier Bardem, thank you. Yeah, it's Javier Bardem tells that story as he's doing that really weird, like, walk-in monologue that he does from, like, down the hallway from the elevator. He talks about the rats in the barrel.
Yes, that is true. I don't know. I'm sorry that I had to share that experience with you, but, like, it really touched me that, like, you guys are working real hard to make me realize Nazis are bad. And also at the same time, like, but there might still be a redemption. Look at Sigrund here.
Yeah, weird mixed messages. It's a weird time. It's a weird time for Nazi villains. Didn't think we'd ever get to a point where that would be like a thing that we all had to come together and actually like debate. But no, man, Nazis can still be the bad guys, and we don't need motivation for them to be the bad guys. They are Nazis.
And I think that pretty much puts a capper on it. They are Nazis. No, but it's something that I am happy that I played, but honestly, and here's the last thing. Here's the very last thing. They introduced Nazi commanders, and they're like, you've played Far Cry, so they're like the ones who set off the alarm in Far Cry 4. So the whole thing is that, like, you want to stealth up and kill the commander before they call in a literally unending stream of Nazi soldiers.
Okay.
Like, which, like, specifically did not make sense when it's like, it's a group of people who stowed away in this U-boat. I have killed 57 dudes, and there are more coming. Where were they?
It's a Nazi.
Yeah, the U-boat is a Decepticon.
Transformers
clearly, in 1940s right. Germany. But yeah, these Nazi commanders, though, everybody in this boat, they just look like John McClane and Die Hard. But Nazi commanders, tailored suits still.
Beautiful.
No
Perfect.
sense. I don't know. So we talked about a lot of things. If you want to yell at any of us about it, I'm at Devon D. Decker.
And I'm at Siege versus the World. And see if you can spot this week's hidden edit.
And don't forget to visit our Twitter account at The Say Report to vote for whether or not I owe Siege $20.
$20.
Regarding Justice League.
$2.
Will finally joined the show.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Stephen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.